stats do you argue about? So they would talk about, you know, OBP and CBS and BDP and whatever it was. And I said, I got news for you folks. None of those stats that you're talking about even existed when I was your age. And the reason they didn't exist when I was your age is because nobody had the tools to actually calculate any of that stuff. And so what's happened over the course of time is the tools have gotten better. People have been able to keep track of things that they viewed as being more granular and more relevant and more important to success than the tools they used when I was a kid. And I said, that is STEM. And I went through like a whole series of examples of just ways in which, if you think about it as a both and not as a either or, simple truth of the matter, most of those skills, one way or another, are gonna find their way into something you do. And that's a much, I think, better way to think about this. And a big part of the reason why we've been investing in organizations like Money Tech. Hi Sheila, how are you? I understand you're sponsoring this morning's breakfast.
Always recruiting business.
You know, the best advice I can give you about Sheila is whatever it is she says that she's interested in doing, you should just say yes. Because any other answers, you're just wasting your time. And I know the Lieutenant Governor was out here last week to celebrate a grant through our Skills Capital Grant Program to Money Tech. And we've probably done, I don't know, $65 million of grants, thanks to the legislature, to vocational and technical schools, community colleges, and other skill building organizations over the past 4 years. And those grants mostly have been about trying to help those organizations either upgrade popular programs they have or expand them, or in some cases, to partner with local employers around educational opportunities that are viewed as ones where there's a hot opportunity, and if the education and skill building folks could get deeper into this space, there would be more opportunity for folks coming out of those programs to get hired. And that's turned out in many respects to be a terrific way for us to partner with really great organizations like yours. So I got this off the table, right? You sponsored, I said nice things about you. I'm good for the next, what, 6-8 months until the next time we have around. And Senator Tran, what I would just say, I started my electoral career I worked in the Weldon Salucci administrations back in the 90s in cabinet positions at Health and Human Services Administration of Finance, but I got my electoral start as a member of the Select Board in Swampscott, and I know you started as a member of the City Council in Pittsburgh, and I tell people all the time that I ran for the Board of Selectmen because I didn't have the strength of the stomach for school committee. That's much harder. And I was talking earlier with Mayor DiNatale, and I asked him, a lot of the mayors in many of our city charters in Massachusetts are also the chairs of their school committee. And I asked him if that was the case with him, and he said yes. And I just said, wow, that's a lot. But the bottom line is, local government, Lieutenant Governor also started her career as a member of the Select Board in Shrewsbury. And there are a number of other folks Mayor Mazzarella he went even deeper. He started as a police officer before he became an elected official. But the bottom line is, if you start in local communities, one of the things you realize is that there's nothing in public life that's as accountable as serving the community you live in, because your constituents and your neighbors, in many cases, their kids play on the same sports teams or participate in the same after-school activities as your kids do. They show up in many of the same restaurants and the same coffee shops and the same places where you pick up dry cleaning or whatever it might be. They're on the same fields as you're on. So you are completely and utterly transparent and available. And I always thought it was great training for anybody who wanted to be in public life. But I also came to believe that if you're thinking about the job that we have at the state level the right way, what you're thinking about is what is it that you're doing that's actually helping communities succeed. Because the other thing you learn is that most people judge how things are going, not based on how things are going on Beacon Hill, or even in some cases how things are going on Washington, because that's far away and we all have apologies about that. I'm just glad I'm here. Most people make that decision based on how things are going in their community. It's their community where they raise their children. It's their community where most of their sort of day-to-day interactions are. The regions typically represent where most people work. And so we tried very hard to create an administration that was focused on enabling communities to be successful. And Dean mentioned the Community Compact Program. And that started as just a very simple idea. Let's create a menu of best practices, give cities and towns an opportunity to pick off the menu if they choose to. If they pick something they want to work on that's on that menu, we'll provide them with technical assistance and financial support to actually do the work that's attached to that. And if they work on them and they succeed, they'll get points when they bid on state grants. No idea if anybody would even play. Okay, it was our first executive order. The Lieutenant Governor chaired the compact program. All 351 cities and towns within a year or so were participating, and they've worked on over 1,000 best practices. And it's gotten to the point now where literally if a community comes across something they think is interesting, they tee it up to us and say, we think this should be on the list. And then we throw it on the list and it becomes the next best practice that people work on. And it also led to the modernization legislation we passed for cities and towns. And this is, you know, sort of weed whacking stuff, and I get that. But I don't think people appreciate how important some of this work can be. And this modernization legislation, this was the first update of state legislation relative to cities and towns that have been passed in over 50 years. So much of the administrative, procedural, and sort of requirements that cities and towns operated under state law predated the computer. So you had cities and towns doing all kinds of stuff that they were required to do under state law that they all knew was a complete waste of their time. And so when we actually had our bill signing ceremony, usually when you have a bill signing ceremony that involves cities and towns, unless you're giving people money, it's kind of hard to get them to come. We had over 100 communities show up. And people were clapping like they were at a Springsteen concert. Because many of them knew how much time they were being given back because finally somebody got around to cleaning up all the goo that got in the way of their ability to do their job. And a lot of the work we've done in MassWorks, which we've significantly expanded and simplified and used as kind of the final stitch on all kinds of downtown development, housing development, economic development, and transportation initiatives. A lot of that came from talking to colleagues in local government. Our reg review project, which we thought was going to be an exercise in simplifying and streamlining regulations, permitting, processes, all this stuff, approvals for businesses. And yeah, we got a lot of feedback from businesses about it, but the biggest response we got on that came from cities and towns who said, you know, if it takes me a year and a half to get an approval from you guys to do something on almost anything, I'm into my next town meeting, I'm into my next budget cycle, the cost of whatever it is has gone up, the time frame associated with putting out the bid, blah, 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 blah. So we take very seriously this notion that you can't be a great state if you don't create great communities. Because in the end, there's 351 communities. They're all a little different, but it's important for us to do the things that are going to help them be successful.